Thank you for joining us here at the Global Center for Christ Consciousness. Please join us in prayer, sacred reading of the day, mission statement, and onward from there. Heavenly Father, Mother God, whose presence is heaven, we give thanks for your sacred presence, your sacred name, the holiness of your being. And we give thanks that you've created us in that same holiness, in that place where there is only peace, joy, love, oneness. So strange, Father, Mother God, that we've conjured up anything but these things. And we ask now, as we put these things on the altar, all things that have affected this day, our lives and this world, all thoughts outside of the love of God, we place on the altar to be lifted up as effortlessly as possible. We choose no thoughts but God's. Let us only think, know, feel, experience what God would have us experience. We choose to only know your will as we proclaim the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And it is in and through me, in and through us, in and through all things, if we but lift the veil to see it. So we ask the Divine Mother, the Holy Spirit of God, lift this veil so we can see clearly. And then we can rejoice. But we know in advance this is already here. It's already happening. For that in advance we give thanks. And so it is.
Call upon the Divine Mother. Ask yourselves to set up a vibration of love, light, hope, comfort, and confidence and peace, knowing that God is the wise and all healing. God's will for you is that you should create all around you the kingdom of heaven. When you enter into this light, you feel your whole being is brought into harmony by the divine power and the glory. To love from this heavenly state of life. When you've learned to dwell in the light of God, you will live in the consciousness, even though you're using a physical body here. Once you've experienced the glory of the God life, you will know that your true being is this eternal light. And so it is.
Wonderful, thank you. If a few folks would be willing to share what thoughts and things that are going on in your life, curiosities, things you want to know, learn, spiritually speaking, if I can respond to that, and I'll share what I can. But what are you struggling with? What's on your mind? What do you want to learn? What's important to you?
How to stop being irritable.
Balance.
Work issues, thoughts.
Hold it one moment. Okay. Yes?
Communication.
Two, yeah, nice job.
Joyous returns.
Pardon?
Joyous returns.
Come back. Okay, yes.
Remembering the truth when lack consciousness is so prevalent.
Good luck with that. And that's been asked last I noticed several weeks here and there, and it's a great point. That's why it's being brought up. People are asking the folks online. Just so you know, I'll address the things brought up so you don't have to actually hear the words if you didn't hear them over the mic. But the last one mentioned, remembering truth. I mean, here we are. We're in God, in a state of bliss, oneness. Things you guys asked about: bliss, oneness, joy. And that's all that there really is. God. And yet, look at the world. There's all kinds of other things. But God's saying, I am that I am. This is all that can be. And we're going, yeah, but we have another opinion. We have all kinds of other stuff. And we need to know what to do with it. And God's going, show it to me. Okay, look at this, watch the news. And God's going, I can't see anything you're describing. God cannot see problems, which sounds sacrilegious. But God cannot see problems because God can only know what's real. If God could see our problems, they would have to be real, and then we would have a real problem. You see? And I know that some of us are going to be hurt and angry at that. No, God does know about my problem. Really? Then why aren't they fixed? Do you think God's on a delay mechanism? Is God like really working hard? Well, you have a worse relationship than anybody else, and it's going to take longer for God to work on that one because God really has a lot of other problems for everybody else to work on. That's not how this works. God's saying, I created you holy and perfect. You decided otherwise. Then what's worse is, because there's God, holiness. Self created in holiness image. But we decided otherwise. What's the next entity? God, self, others. And we blamed it on everybody else. God created us holy. We decided otherwise, and then we blamed everybody else for it. Now, I'm not saying that others aren't ever hurtful. They are. You know why? Because they did the same thing. God and self, and they decided otherwise. So everybody walks around the planet either blaming each other for what seems to be missing in their being or crediting them as being the solution. I would be so bummed. But think about this. Like some of us are talking about there's the concept of fasting. What is fasting? Well, you don't eat for it. No, fasting means abstaining from the ego for a moment. But it's a funny thing. No sooner do you say, I'm going to go without cigarettes. Now, every 2 minutes, you're thinking about cigarettes. When you smoked, you only thought about it a few times a day. When you stop, it's every minute. You turn on the TV. I bet that person smokes. I bet that person would have a good pack of cigarettes I could use. Like, it's just the mind doesn't stop. You're showering and you're going, I wonder if this is washing off any tar and nicotine. Like, the mind cannot go without cigarettes. It's like you get a Kleenex to blow your nose. Oh, that's the color of a cigarette. Everything suddenly becomes cigarettes. When you're fasting from food, like it's just like as soon as you say, starting now. Oh, is that a Butterfinger? You're like, there's just everything. And this is just absolute weakness. It's human weakness. But we're not humans and we're not weak. But it's the self that we conjured up. So we got this holy thing and we're like, no, I decided otherwise. And then we live in this pathetic scenario. A holy child of God. Now remember, we actually co-created the entire universe. The entire universe. And you don't think you can fast for an hour. For 1 hour, I'm not going to think about. Go, try. As soon as you think that you're not going to think about it, you're starting to think about it. The human self is so messed up, but it makes sense that it would be. Anyone that would separate from holiness is out of their mind. Anyone that would separate from bliss and peace and joy can't be that bright. And so it is. No. Can I hear an amen? But seriously, you can't be that bright. But it isn't the holy you that's doing that. It's the false you that thinks you're so messed up. You can't get a raise at work. You can't manifest a better relationship. I don't know why I can't quit smoking. All the things you bring up, they become a fight for a human who thinks and already decided that they're weak is going to try to fight against. Well, now you have struggles because you already determined you're weak. Everything else in the world has power over you, and you're going to fight it. But it's a losing battle. And then, we cry and we hurt. And why is this again? Why can't I? Well, what about this? And I'm barren womb. And all these stories. I'd like to be clearer and cleaner. And it's interesting because there's the broken people that are asleep in the world. And then there's those who are waking up. Good job. And those are people on the spiritual path. But they go from giving into every kind of whim and addiction and whatever to fighting them. But you still don't have peace. Which is why God's supposed to be part of your programs. Because you can't just actually not drink to be healed. You can't just not eat to call yourself, healthy with food addictions or whatever. There's supposed to be peace there. So if you said to Jesus, he manifests here and you say, make me not smoke or make whatever it is, he would say, there's already a part of you that doesn't. Okay, well, I got to find that. You're right. I'm gonna make myself find that healthy person that doesn't overeat and that you're still doing. You went from doing bad to working hard to do good, but you're still not at peace. So then this very Taoist concept, this Christy concept comes in. All right, well, Jesus, then how do I do this? What would you have me do? His answer has been, historically and currently, let my grace be enough. Now, is that a brand of cigarettes? What do you mean by your grace? How does that come into, G-R-A-C? How do the letters spelling grace fix me? I'm having a problem right now. What if I'm ill? I can't get up and walk anymore. How's your grace fix that? He's saying, you're still thinking about the bodies. You're still trying to figure out how grace, peace, Jesus would heal your stuff. You don't have stuff. All right, then fix me from having stuff. I'm asking you to stop judging it and thinking about it. Don't obsess on it. Just call in the peace of God. Instead of God, make war go away, Christ consciousness doesn't do it that way. Make my history, my wounded childhood, make it go. It doesn't work that way. What we're supposed to do is attain the level of consciousness that Jesus had, which is Christ consciousness. When you attain Christ consciousness, you sit back and I'm not going to try to fight smoking. I'm just going to do everything I do in the state of grace of Christ consciousness. So you're going to do what you're going to do. Yeah, everybody shut your phones, please. You're going to do what you're going to do, but you're being asked to do it in a different state of mind. Not, I shouldn't be doing this. It's more like, isn't that funny that I do this? It's so weird. I'm a holy child of God. Help me to see this through your eyes, God. See, stop trying to fix it on your own. And yet, you still have to participate in the choices here, but not participate in the person fixing yourself. How are you going to fix yourself? You're the one who got yourself this messed up. Well, because I think I got it figured out now. Oh, do you? Because I remember you from 100,000 years ago in another lifetime. I remember you walking down the streets of ancient Atlantis going, guess what? I got it together finally. And I'm like, you said that back in Lemuria 1,000,000 years ago. You're the same person still trying to fix yourself. And no sooner do you get it right and you forgive something, but you got 2 other irritants that you added today. So you can't really easily fix yourself. And in the history of mankind, depending on your beliefs and what our history actually looks like, the truth is we've existed for billions of years. Billions of years. When the Big Bang took place, and I'm talking about timeline, not we existed before time began, but timeline. If the universe began X number of billions of years ago, we were part of that because we were creating that. So we were already starting to exist at this time. And we soar into the universe looking at this thing that we've created, which is not actually co-created with God. It was created in a way that was made up, made believe. We made believe there's a universe where we could go and live in darkness and separation, which I know is not a poetic way of describing the universe. People will be like, aren't nebulas beautiful? Rainbows and color, No, it's dark and cold. The universe is a place that's dark and cold. The reason you have rainbows is so that you have something to distract you so you're not aware of how miserable you are. Wow. And it's like, well, this is depressing. I know it is. That's why everybody's on medication. I mean, everybody's doing something to just stay alive. But the funny thing is, you are part of God and you are very holy. And wherever you go, God is. But why don't I see that? Because we've given in to the lies. Yes, the lies of politics and science, and yes, all the lies, but it's the lies that we've allowed to be created here. There's a hypnosis that goes on in this world. Everybody's in a trance, walking around thinking you're black or white, tall or short, skinny or fat, or whatever. It's not even true. It's not even true. You're not this thing. And I'm not just saying that philosophically. I'm saying it's impossible for a holy, omnipotent being to be stuck in a body that can't even find its car keys. There's more to you than this. Really? Because I'd like to find that. It's not in the motivational talk. It isn't in the things you do to try to make yourself look younger. Those are nice. Those are fun little tidbits. They're fine. But to think that they change who you are and how you feel, it's not so. When we really get down to it, wow. I mean, the things, to change our lives, you have to own that something's not right. And you know what it is it's the smoking. It's okay, that's fine. You're naming the symptoms, but know that you're naming symptoms. You know what your problem is you need a partner. You're single. Another person, you know what you need is a divorce because you're not single. All these various stories, they're just symptoms. There's only one thing you need, and it is to remember that you are part of God and you're holy. That's all you need. It's all we really need. If there's a need at all, it's to remember who we are. Not attain it, not achieve it by toning up and cleaning up and no longer smoking and drinking. Start with, yes, I do drink too much. Shame yourself and you're not getting anywhere. But recognize what that's about. That's why the STEP programs are about finding out what's behind it. What is this really about? And if you really take it to its fullest, what it's really about is, I feel separate from love. And yes, that made me hurt. Yes, that makes me angry. Yes, that makes me smoke. How are you going to not smoke and drink? If you're in touch with how terrible you feel inside, you're going to want to drink. How are you not going to want food to numb yourself? I mean, you just get up and, within seconds of the day, without realizing it, subconsciously you're thinking, wow, what's today? Oh, that's right, Monday. Now I'm just, sort of checking in and seeing how miserable I am. I think I need to eat something so that I can buffer that a little bit. Because if I can get my energy into my stomach to digest food, I won't feel the way I feel, which is horrible and terrible. Wow. Why would you feel horrible and terrible? You just woke up. Because sleeping was only a fake respite for how terrible I feel. When I went to bed, I was terrible. Oh, I thought you were doing great. You watched your favorite show and you were laughing. You went to bed and you're miserable. No, listen. On the outside, whatever you think you are and look like isn't the point. Deep down, we miss God. Deep down, we miss love. When I first came to Sedona and they asked me to be in this position, there was one thing I thought, I wonder how long it's going to take them to regret asking me to come here. Because Sedona was very much like, hey, man, I saw Bigfoot today, and, last night there were 3 UFOs over my house, and, oh, that's right, I was stoned. Everything's just so like, just anything goes. And I thought, and I'm going to be talking about God, and I'm like, okay, God, try not to make this too difficult because I'm going in. So I did this, and the biggest compliment I heard from people in Sedona is thank you for bringing God back. And I'm like, wow, yeah, thank you. And I was very surprised. I mean, which is a good thing. It's nice to be wrong because I thought this is going to be freaky. A lot of people that are a little out there and they're going to be hearing about God. I wonder how they're going to do with that. To hear them saying, thank you for bringing God back into our lives, that was huge because that's what it's all about. That's what I feel like I'm about. And so there are so many things. Communication issues you're asking about. Dealing with issues with employers and so on. This is this stuff. And you don't want to wish it away, because that's putting energy into wishing that, and that's not real. You change it. Change what you can and accept what you can't. So how can I change? Well, change a certain circumstance or whatever. Love and forgiveness always. But remember, even if I'm trying to forgive my boss, my partner, or whatever, it still involves effort, which implies it might work and it might not. There's a dimension of consciousness where it's impossible for it to not work. You are so forgiven that I can't even imagine us struggling anymore. Try to imagine coming from that level of certainty. You are so healed. Lazarus, prepare yourself, because I'm about to do something here. I'm going to love the hell out of you. I'm going to send such a frequency into your soul that's going to blast you with so much love that illness will flee, sickness will flee, death will flee, doubt will flee. All of that's going to be gone. I'm not going to tolerate anything else. Get up. Now, what's it like to be Lazarus? Get up. You're all wrapped in, get up. And these cloths just have to fall away because the truth is so prevalent, so present. So to be able to say to yourself, stop, that's enough. When the voice goes, oh, I feel so great. I can't wait to get to work. You get to look in the mirror and go, oh God, the way I look, oh my God, they're not, I don't look good enough for work. And that other girl, she's new. And they're probably going to replace me with her because she looks so much better. And on and on and on and on and on. It's always been in my sisters. And you're just going to past lives. And God knows, in Babylon, I wasn't always the prettiest. Well, that's because you were a man. So there's always something to obsess on. And you haven't even left the house. And there's all this to obsess on. You have the right to say, that's enough. Where are you coming from? Literally, where in the hell are you coming? But what is this about? What's going on here? Stop, do that. Question yourself. Hey, stop. What is your problem, man? Well, we just wanted to be heard. Well, no. I heard you. For lifetimes I've heard you, and you've never been right. When have you ever said, you're part of God and you're very holy? Never. You've always told me my problems and my inadequacies and so on, and enough is enough. My God, I would not treat a child like that. I would not. I wouldn't even treat an animal like that, but I do it to myself. Do you look at your dog and say, you're getting so old? Look at you. You're going to die soon, I imagine. The neighbor's dog is still fetches. And you just, do you do that to a dog? You would treat the dog better than yourself? It makes no sense. My God. So you have to say, what is this about? Own it. You've got to own that you do this. If you pretend everything's peachy, because, your positive reinforcement and all those techniques, you're missing something. You have to own that you miss God in your own wording, in your own way. You have to own that you miss knowing who you really are. I miss my divinity. I wonder what that's like. The other voices with all the varying, numerous, endless opinions about how lovable and unlovable you are, they're not right at all. Not even the lovable ones. You think you're lovable and you fill in the blank. Why are you so lovable? Because I'm fairly intelligent. Wrong. Because I'm this. Wrong. You can't even name why you're lovable because you're still attributing human things to it. And this isn't who you are. If you attribute human things to it, all you're doing is getting a pass to skip by today. It's just temporary. When somebody says, finally I met somebody and they liked me and they said I'm pretty and wow, I feel so much better. Wait till they stop. Then we're in trouble again. To become so filled with spirit that none of it matters at all. You're just so filled with spirit and you've got things to do because you're so filled with spirit. What you paint, the poems you write, how you parent, you're doing your best to be plugged in and let it come through you. And it's beautiful. Somebody gets it and they go, that's remarkable. You don't go, oh, now I feel value. You are valued. When you hear compliments, you can hear it from lack that needs the compliment, or you can hear it from fullness that says, it makes sense that I feel so inspired that I would see reflections of that. And it's okay for me to thank you for that reflection. But I know it's not from you. I know that it's from God and through myself being mirrored to me, so thank you. And when there's criticisms, is that from God? No. Where did it come from? It had to come from myself, mirrored through you. When you say, I don't think you're really good at that, by the way, it can hurt. And I know, guys, the number of hurts that go on in this world, I know it's heavy stuff, and we're not pretending it doesn't happen. In this world, people are missing God, and therefore they're suffering, and they take their suffering out on each other. Of course they're going to act up. Of course they're going to say hurtful things. The one that did the most hurtful things to you is because they were so in pain, they had to take goodness from other people. And then there's other people that criticize because of their insecurities. That's all just real and simple, basic psychology, you could say. But at the end of the day, does that mean you're wrong for feeling hurt when they said it? If they kicked you in the leg, were you wrong for going, ow? It is just an illusion. But in this world, it seems real. And a really healthy, responsible person, like the disciples of Buddha said, you're the Buddha. Why are people throwing rocks at us? And he just, in a previous lifetime, I once treated people like this and and he just took responsibility. He didn't say, oh, they don't get it, man. I'm just too evolved for them and they don't get it. He just talked about, oops. Yeah, I've been there, done that. And it's my advice he's saying to you is don't react to it. Do your best to stay centered. I'm not saying don't feel hurt, but do your best. Chill, try not to react to it, and then you're neutralizing the wheel of karma. And now that one won't have to come back again. And people will say and do things, but they're hurting. That's why they do the things they do. If they were plugged into God, they couldn't do it. If you were plugged in God, it couldn't be done to you, generally speaking. Then you can say, well, Jesus had some horrible things. Does that mean he wasn't plugged in? No, Jesus specifically said, I'm going to go in and allow those things to go on, and I'm not going to react to them. I'll still love them to show you that even when you're innocent, you'll still get attacked. And here's how you should react to it. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. It's not always easy. I don't think the average partner can say, to their other who's being rude, I forgive you, you know not what you do. I think they're just going to get angrier. I don't think a 5-year-old could look at their parents who are reprimanding them, Mom, Dad, I forgive you, you know not what you do. I think it's just going to create more irritants between you. But inside, you have to know it. Somewhere inside. In my life, I spent most of my days on restriction for something or other. Usually it was report card stuff because I hated school. But anyway, it's just school wasn't going to be my thing. Memorize this. Why? I don't get it. Nobody's talking about God. Nobody's talking about spirituality. Nobody's talking about, and that's, I was so into that, and it doesn't come across in the standard school. So I was always on restriction for grades. At the time, I prayed a lot. And I mean, the prayers were of a kid. I'm not talking about, perfect, Buddha under the Bodhi tree, desperate prayers sometimes, tearful prayers sometimes. Mainly, I don't understand. I don't understand why I have this family. I don't understand why I'm in trouble again. I didn't understand anything. That was, let's say, a theme going on. None of us understand if you really think about it. I don't understand why my husband left me and cheated on me. I don't understand why my kids don't respect me. I don't understand why work I don't understand why the bank won't give me a loan. It all comes back to I don't understand. And what that does is it keeps us in a hurt place. Well, what's the opposite? Oh, I get it. Well, but I don't get it. So you can't pretend you get it to make it all come together. What you can do is, I don't understand, but God does. So I'm asking to see this through God's eyes. That doesn't mean that suddenly things clear up the way you expect. When you say, let me see the bank loan they won't give me for my first house or car or whatever, I don't understand. I have a good income. What's wrong here? To say I want to see this through your eyes, what you might experience is not a change of circumstance in your eyes. What you might do is feel peace. All of a sudden, it's not a visual. Sometimes it's, God, that's weird. I'm like at peace, but I still don't have a car. But I feel at peace about it somehow. That's called a miracle. Feeling peaceful when you shouldn't be feeling peaceful is a miracle. Feeling love when you should be feeling anger is a miracle. Feeling patience when you should not, because you've been so patient all your life. Feeling blissful concepts when you should be feeling the opposite is a miracle. That doesn't mean you have to fight the opposite to have good feelings, to have a miracle. No, you can just choose miracles at some days without even having a challenge. I'm just going to choose the peace of God today. Help me to see through your eyes. Help me to experience things through your consciousness. How can I see this differently? I'm saying this, and philosophically, we can all get it. But on the day-to-day stuff, it's not always easy to apply. Challenges, challenging people, angry people, bills to pay, taxes to deal with, politics, sciences, illnesses, but none of it's real. So if you try to fight off all of it and say, if I just, greater mastery, and I'm going to access parts of myself to defeat that, and I'll become a politician, I'll fix that. All the things you think you can do to fix it. Go from being a victim to a fighter. That's good. It's better than the other, I guess. But you're still in the world of doing. Somewhere in the center is the peace of God, where you go, I don't have to quit smoking, but smoking doesn't resonate with how I feel right here, and it can fall away more easily. I don't have to have a partner, but wow, having one feels nice as long as it resonates with this. I don't have to be single and alone, but if that's what resonates with this is where I'm going. My center is all that matters to me. So I have to own when things are not quite right, when things are, off somehow, whether it's your health or job or whatever. You have to own something's not quite right. The second thing I would recommend that any and all of us do is pray for inspiration. Pray for inspiration, pray for the courage to work on what you need to work on. Pray for the presence of God. Don't think there's a problem, I'm going to fix it. That's great, you're motivating. It's even skills of mastery if you do it right. But why would you want to proceed once you see there's a problem? Why would you want to proceed without God being your second step here? Yeah, and I don't mean literally the step, but right in there at the beginning. Let me bring God back into this, because that's where the problem began, separating from the all-knowing to the I don't know anything. That's why we don't understand this world. I don't understand how I got sick. Somebody was saying just yesterday, a friend of theirs who was, they had some friends that were drug dealers and heavy stuff, and those people are thriving in their lives. Someone who was clean and sober all their life, a friend of theirs, is dying. And they're going, how could this happen? Because graveyards aren't filled with unnice people. And all the nice people still live. It doesn't work that way. There's all kinds of pieces to all this. My job is to say, let me feel the grace of God. If I ask in prayer for you to heal, my job is not to sit there and wait for you to stand up and walk and prove me as a healer. My job would be, I already know there's a part of you that's healed. I'm holding that in my consciousness, and you get it today or you don't, doesn't matter, because the grace of God is with us. Peace be with you, you see, and let that be. Step out of the trying to make it happen or fix it or whatever. However, you have to remember, when stuff is happening, especially if it's post-trauma related, but when stuff is happening, a boss again is this and a partner is that, and your kids aren't respecting, whatever's happening, especially if it's post-trauma though, triggers that are they come up from the past. breathe. Third step, breathe and recognize the stuff that I think is happening isn't actually happening right now. If I'm dealing with abandonment, I promise you this, it's abandonment from the past. It's a pattern. If I'm dealing with craving a drink, that craving has been there a long time. It's a pattern of mine. It's an escapism. What I'm feeling, even if I'm feeling like phobic, crowds and that sort of thing, it isn't about what's happening right now. Rarely could you say, I have a phobia of crowds and the crowd is literally rushing in to harm me. Once in a blue moon, something is unsafe. I'm getting triggered because my partner's yelling at me. And Michael said, it isn't happening right now. Well, it is. I could record it. But believe it or not, the karma that brought it about isn't happening today. It's from the past. I see only the past. My experiences are almost never the true present moment of who I am. They're just reflections of something else. I call them ghosts that haunt us. So when you have like betrayal of some kind, I know someone on the outside seems like they're betraying you today, but what I'm saying is the betrayal pattern has been there for a very long time. The person here is just acting it out. So if you ask God, make them stop abandoning me, and God would fix that person from abandoning you, the pattern's not gone. What you really want, breathe and own. This isn't about what's happening right now. This is deep, unhealed stuff inside of me. That's a very important piece right there. And then work on the reactions to it as best you can. The next step I would recommend is please recognize when you've made progress and give thanks for it. Recognize when you've made progress. I don't care if it's an ounce of progress. Recognize when it's happened. What do you do? What do you say to somebody who's yelling at you? Well, I shut down and freeze. Or I just stand taller and, hey, I'm going to knock you out. Those two extremes are a bit much. Where does it come from? Where does the fight or the freeze, where do they come from? Well, I've always tended to rear up and fight for my life, or I learned to speak up for myself. It's still not God. I freeze. I become afraid. I dissociate. That's not God either. So where does this come from? Owning that it's not the real me, but if I make progress, and I always react within, say, within 1 minute of being yelled at, reprimanded, I react, what if I turn it around and it's only, half a minute before I turn it back to peace? What if I'm getting better? What if I can say, I'm compelled to eat something right now? And you say, but where's that coming from? Oh, it's normal. See, that's a human making an excuse for having a need. You're a divine being. You have no needs. It's too hot. It's too cold. Really? To who? Well, to me. And then you start saying, but, my race, we have warmer blood, colder blood. You start making up story. DNA, my parents, for the fact that you're complaining it's too hot or too cold again. Right? It seems normal. Well, Michael, you're wrong. Let me take a toll. Did everybody agree to show of hands? Is it cold is it hot in the room? See, Michael, we've proven you wrong. No. You just showed me there's other dysfunctional people in the room. Listen, angels cannot get chilled. Angels do not say, man, it's hot in here. It doesn't happen that way. If angels don't feel too hot or too cold, why is it? Because they don't have issues. Even getting hot and cold is your reaction to something. There is a point, it's sounding like I'm promoting the Shaolin monk school, There is a point where you're just at peace. Certainly there's things that happen. If something falls on your foot, ow, I get it. But there's a point where pain doesn't bother you so much. Hot and cold, aging, whatever else. These things of the world just don't bother you. Not because you're fighting them off. It's because you've learned to put so much energy into the presence of God. And you just don't notice the other things so much. In part, what I'm saying is, watch where you've made changes. If you have changes and you don't acknowledge them, they will wash away. Own them. My first day of sobriety. Yeah, but that's nothing. I've got friends that have been clean and sober for 30 years. Not a good way to look at this. One day at a time. You perfectly achieved it today. I know the voices in your head. I know you're like, oh, thanks, Michael. One day, whoopee. I know all the things that'll go on in your mind. And all I'm telling you is all those doubting thoughts are not God and they're not your healthy self. Focus on, I completed this one full day. Yes, make some changes. If you can make some changes to help structurally, the structural is symptomatic. It doesn't fix your soul. But structurally, you can make some changes. You can say, hey, listen, if you call and yell at me, I don't mind. If you're upset, you'll have 1 minute to get out whatever's happening, and then I'm going to call it and say, okay, now it has to stop. If it keeps going, I'm hanging up on you. You call me back, I'm going to hang up again. Call me yelling again, I'm going to change my number. Find my number and call me again, I'm going to block you. Find a way to get past the block, I'll tell the authorities about it. It's okay to set boundaries. Don't think the boundaries are what ultimately makes you safe. The boundaries are because of where they're at, and they need that to keep things kind of in a balanced place. So we find this way to say, how can I change things? And you're supposed, one step before that, you're supposed to be praying what to change and how to change it. What would you have me do? And sometimes God will say, you know, I would just step away from that person for a while. They're just not going to get it right now. Let it be. And other times God will say, call them, make amends. Maybe that'll, I don't know, because each moment is different. But I don't want to make any moves without God as my guide. You think you know how to get it right. You think you know how to fix that person. How many people have you in your life heard, well, I thought they would change? And were in a relationship that was unhealthy or harmful even because they thought they could change them. No, it's you change what you can and you step away, accept what you can't. Try to step away with an attitude of peace in your mind. It might have to sound firm outside, hey, enough. And it might have that tone, which is good. But inside you're like, I'm good, You don't have any anger or hatred or whatever, just, I'm good. So this idea, own that there's some kind of problem, pray and get some inspiration on what to do. But the third was, this isn't about what I think it's about. This is an old pattern. Breathe and calm down. Calm down. It's not actually what you think it is. Well, they're doing, I know, but it's a pattern. And a lot of times, you're assuming when someone raised their voice, they're actually mad at you, and they're not. Sometimes it's not even true what you think is happening externally, right? Have you ever thought that way about somebody and they were like, fine, or vice versa? So remember to soak in every ounce of change. If you don't say thank you for the ounce, you'll never see the pound. You'll never achieve the ton. There won't be a ton of change in your life. Well, it just seems so worthless to give thanks for one little, I'm waiting for this. No, that's not how this works. Give thanks for what you've got doesn't mean stay meager. Give thanks for what you have means because then you can achieve more because your consciousness owned some goodness. And now your consciousness can go, wow, let's take it up a notch. How could God, how could it not be possible that God is with you in this journey trying to get you back home? See? Give thanks. And God will say, you have no idea. There's so much more. You gave thanks, now we'll give you more. Be faithful with the things you've got and more will be added. This is true. This is factual. So get it and give thanks. Every little change. I'm going to fast. I'm going to abstain from smoking, whatever it is. I don't want you to do New Year's resolution types of things that you fail at and feel worse about. Incremental change if you have to. I'm going to not think self-loathing thoughts for 1 hour. If they even show up, immediately I catch it. Nope, not today. Discipline your mind. Discipline your body, your cravings, everything else. Bless you. Okay? And it's up to you. Give thanks, and now you go to another level and another level. And things I'm describing, by all means, recognize it's not as much as you think it's right now. It's not. This is an old pattern of mine. Give that up. And get to the point where you say, Time for something new. Don't try to just make it. Pray for guidance on what the new thing's going to be. And it's amazing because sometimes it's close that relationship. Other times it's stay open and just work on speaking more kindly. Or as one of you asked, communicating more clearly and more lovingly and so on. Give thanks for the changes that were made, but now where do I want to go? And it's so beautiful because it could be something as simple as I can't find my car keys to an illness you think you've got. Whatever the case is, when you get to go through these steps and you get to a place of rebuilding, pray for guidance and insights might come to you. There's a nutrient that I'm missing in my diet and it pops in. My car keys, oh my God, I remember we're there. Miracles, external, three-dimensional miracles can come to those who are in miracle-mindedness, you see? But I don't have to fight as hard to achieve these things because it's a state of mind that I'm in, I being any of us, right? So you're asking, one of the things was to stop being so irritable. That's an issue. That's step one. Own that there's an irritability. It won't help us if you say, I am not irritable, Let's own, I guess I can be a little irritable at times. And then what? God, and it's okay for you to talk, not just from your lofty heart, beloved being, oneness of the universe. And sometimes just go, it's me again, and I'm irritable again. It's okay for you to do that. There's no issue with God. You can say, but if you know the life I've had, God's like, yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. I get it. When I say God, it's really the Holy Spirit of God that communicates with us on this level. There's a part of God that remains in the bliss of heaven and is not aware of this petty stuff of ours. And petty doesn't mean to, diminish it or demean it, but it means we come up with all these problems. There's a part of us that's still in God and perfectly holy. Part of us is dreaming that we're here, so part of God had to go into the dream to be with us. Well, if you guys are going to go away from bliss into a world of make-believe problems, I'm going to send a part of myself, which is really the Divine Mother, that goes into the schoolroom with her children. She goes for the parent-child meetings and whatever else at the school. So she's with us at all these times, trying to help us deal with these things. She can't believe in them. She can't actually, when you say Divine Mother, Holy Spirit, by any name or any mantra or ritual, no matter what you do, from the gut, tearful, my life is terrible, I have an illness that's incurable, I don't know what to, she can never believe that it's incurable. She can never believe that you're lonely. She hears you, but if you're a good counselor or healer or parent, you should be able to hear what they're telling you and never fully believe what they're saying. Mommy, nobody likes me. See? I wouldn't suggest that you believe that. Well, honey, that's because you're unlikable. So the mother hears our pleas and our hurts, but she never totally validates them. Oh, now I'm really mad. I want a God that validates. You do. It's called your ego. And it validates every dysfunctional part of your being. And it doesn't bring you peace. So why would you want to continue using it as your guide and your God? Try something else. So I'm going to. It's a little scary. God, I don't even know why I'm irritable, but I know that it happens. And I know that there's another way I could be. I don't want to be like that person who's sweet. I'm talking about me. Whatever this is about, I'm bringing it to the altar. I know that I'm irritable sometimes because of this and this and that, but I don't know all of it. I'm putting even the unknown things here, including if you're ill or addicted, not just irritable. Whatever your thing is, I get that there's a problem, and God, I'm bringing it to you. I put it on the altar for you to lift. You see? I'm willing to look at my part. I'm willing to recognize there's deeper pieces here at step 3 I was mentioning. And a day later, a week later, that's weird. My irritability level, the meter, it's usually at an 8. The last couple days, it's only been a 7.9. No. The last few days, it's like a 5. Well, that's still a lot. Stop. A 5. Nice. Nice. Now watch this. If you don't see the lack of value in being irritable and rude and upset all the time, if you don't, you're going to be addicted to it. You have to see it. It's not good for you. You must own. If you want to change an addiction or a behavioral pattern, you have to see that it isn't. If you still think it's good, you won't want to give it up. You have to hit bottom. And bottom can be right now. You can say, well, I haven't hit 10 yet. That would be bottom. Let bottom be 3 in your irritability chart. Wherever you are in your life, this is enough. I don't need my life to go that far off the rails for me to say, this is it. This is the limit right here. So I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to look at in my inside to see why. What does it bring up to not have the boss that I get along with? Maybe it's about authority figures. Maybe it's about people that don't make any sense. My boss is just nuts. They have us do things that don't make any sense. Well, and what does that bring up in you? Senselessness. The whole world is senseless. So your body, your boss, is actually being a puppet, a mirror of what you feel about the whole universe. Senselessness. See, if I have a boss that's irritating me and so on, it's easy for me to go, oh, well, let me track that for a second. That would be every governmental leader. That would be every father figure, my own father, male energy. I mean, it doesn't, you don't have to go very far to find the connections to all of it. See, the boss is just the front runner. I've had people call me and say, Michael, I do the private sessions. And they say, broke up with somebody, they left me, and I can't live without him. I'm heartbroken. I don't get it. I don't understand. It's amazing to me because we're talking about Jim or whatever his name is. No offense if your name's Jim. So we're talking about Jim. Jim, he left me, and blah, blah, whatever. Okay, fine. Now, by the time we're done talking, we've recognized this is just a facade. Now we've talked, by the time we're done, about every abandonment, every betrayal, or whatever it is. Now this person will say to me when we start, I can't stop thinking about them. It's amazing. Because when you look at what's behind them, this person becomes inconsequential. Like when we started half an hour ago, I can't stop, I'm obsessing, I can't stop thinking. Now they're like, Jim, who? It's like, oh my God. You see, when you get in touch with the pattern, which is hard to do in the sense that, you know whose pattern it is? Yeah, that's why it's annoying. If I talk about Jim, he's over there, safely over there. When you start looking at patterns, they're right here. That's too close to home. But it's the only way to heal. So you turn from them and you walk this direction. And when you walk in this direction, I complete records in my mind about all the reasons people would have to not walk in this direction. Well, that means he gets away and nobody, he gets away with it. Then never mind. Just keep hating and see if that works. And it doesn't. Okay, turning within is going to bring up, so you're saying it's my fault. All kinds of things are going to come up. And then there's also not just the angry, you're saying it's my fault. There's also the person that goes, oh, great. So I guess I'm just the problem. And they try the good cop, bad cop routine. They go now into the depressed one. That's still not going to be bought by me. Because we don't leave it with, hi, thanks for calling. Listen, I just want to point out, Jim left, probably for good reason if you think about it, and he's gone. And if you just turn and look at yourself, you've got issues, and you're probably not going to have a partnership in this lifetime. That's not the direction we're going. What we're saying is, and you know what, if you're a counselor, go ahead, hear them. Hear the person. They did what? Oh my God. It's okay to sympathize, let's call it for a moment. Wow, that was so selfish of them. But that's not where I'm staying. I'm going to take the conversation about them and eventually, does it remind you of anybody else that's ever? Oh yeah, 583. Oh, okay, and that 583 plus Jim did this. This is a pattern, isn't it? And what's behind that pattern? Well, I just feel unloved, or things can't go too well for me in my life. It would be too good to be true. Whatever story in back of it all. Wow. Now, Let's surrender that image of yourself and say goodbye to that old image of yourself. When we're done, what's the fifth step I mentioned earlier? Bring in something new. My God, give thanks for every bit of progress. You know, I went from thinking about Jim 10 times per minute yesterday, every hour of the day, and today I thought about him twice all day. Nice. Well, no, but I still thought about it. No, nice. Good job. Soak that in. See, replace it. Put something new in its place. Put up a sign that says no vacancy to all those thoughts that want to come rushing back in. No, I'm good. I have other thoughts that I'm putting time into. Like me and my new life, the presence of God, prayer, meditation, whatever. I'm making the changes, give thanks. But remember, externally, circumstantially, you might also want to still, one of you asked about the word balance. I do believe in this. There is a matter of balance. Do the healing work, do the inner work, but also on the outside, with balance, I'm going to make some structural changes. Change your number or whatever it's going to take to meet the new direction you're wanting to go. The new direction is always about the presence of God, even if it's called a better diet, a more fit body, better relationships, better communication. There are all kinds of inaccurate workshops and books that tell you about communication. Like, just accept that men are a certain way, women are a certain way, and they'll just never have it together. That's not true at all. If you're struggling in your life with other people, what do they symbolize to you? Authority figures. Well, there's a big phrase, authority figure. So now everybody that brushes up on that authority figure thing is up creek because you have authority figure issues. You have issues with weak people. You have issues with obsessive people. Whatever the name is, there's a whole bunch of people behind them. There's never just one person right now irritating you and you're righteously irritated and it's the first time it's ever happened to you. There's nothing new under the sun. And what's amazing is that if you were to look at the number of people, let's say your Jim or Sally or Sue or whatever, someone that's hurt you today, rejected you, betrayed you, and you're naming that person, there they are. And behind them, there's a whole bunch more and you don't know it. God, make them come back to me. God's like, seriously? Don't you want to take advantage of this moment? Oh, no, I'll be happy if they're just there, standing going, I have not left. So that you can go, whew, I'm okay. No, sweat it out. Let's look at this. And behind them, it's all these other people. But if you do your healing work on Jim, all the others are going to get the effects of the healing work. The ego will say, listen, Mr. Courageous, Mrs. I found my empowered self. I'm going to work on my issues with Jim. Listen, I try not to tell you the bad news about these things, the ego says. I try to hide all the bad news, which it doesn't. But it's going to pretend, I'm doing this for your sake. How so? All right, I didn't want to have to tell you this, but behind Jim, there's a bunch of wounds from the past. It's not pretty. Some of them you caused. I did, yeah, but shh, go back to sleep. And let's just blame Jim. That's what this does, or your boss, or whatever. I'm not saying they're not doing things that aren't nice, or that sometimes they're doing things that are selfish. I get it. But why? There's 8 billion people on the planet. How did they find you? I know that they're mean, and I know your boss or your partner, or but I found somebody that was a psychopath and or you're a narcissist. Everybody likes to use that term now. Everybody's a narcissist. So I have a narcissist. No. There's 8 billion people on the planet, and you found the one and only narcissist. I got to ask you, wow, you're quite the creator. How did you get them to find you? Because in you there's beep, 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 beep. And they could be in Madagascar and they're like having food and they're feeling a calling from their twin soul. My twin flame's calling me. And they fly to Sedona, Arizona, and you meet up and You see each other at Whole Foods and there's this magical energy between you. And just yesterday, the psychic was telling you, you might be meeting your twin soul. Good. It's good. I believe in readings and astrology. I believe in all of it. What I'm saying is how you use it. And you're in Madagascar. You fly all the way here to meet your one and only that's going to make your life so much easier. But they turned out, and they'll come to me and they'll say, Michael, I met them. It was so great. It was magical. And there we were in Whole Foods, and whatever. It was so synchronistic. I didn't realize that meeting in the vegetable aisle meant that they're vegetable, spiritual vegetable. So there were meanings there, and I wasn't catching on to them. So it's over now, and I don't understand how it happened. Because you got hooked and you went flying after that. When you get readings, ask that they and you be open to the highest. Not what you want, but the highest. And are you prepared if that reader looks up and says, it's going to be a few years. You're a terrible reader. Now you're at Whole Foods, with your carrot like Bugs Bunny. I went to a psychic over at the Global Center and they said it's going to be 3 years. And there's just like, no way. I'm totally empowered. I'm going to manifest go. And you'll be doing therapy with me months later because that person isn't healthy. You wanted what you wanted and you got it. And it's not healthy. So if you're going to get an accurate reading, you have to be willing to hear whatever's coming. If you put agendas on the reading, you're already affecting the reading. And I'm not saying don't have it until you know it's perfect. Pray to say, I'm open. I'm open for the question. I'm open that the Holy Spirit help me with the answer. I'm open that person is a great channel. I'm open to whatever's coming through, what form it takes. I'm open to receiving the courage to practice what I'm told in the reading, and all the way down to the actions I'm going to take. See, I want to make this a holy experience. I want to make this like a guided experience. The reading is like the Spirit, the voice of God, giving me some guidance, and I know how to move forward and put this all into application. I'm just not going to be the weak human anymore. I'm waking up. So that person, they manifest that person in the aisle and the beacon going off and finding that twin soul. I understand all those things, and I'm sorry because I know it hurts to bite into that hook, to bite the hook and say, I thought this was gonna work. I was promised this job, and I went in it. I was promised this job. They told me we're gonna pay you this amount. I got here and they said, well, we come to think of it, we only can pay you about a third of what we promised. Now, did I go, I hate you, I'm never going to Sedona. I don't even want to be around a person with an N in it because Sedona has an N in it. So I don't like people with the letter N in their name and just get fully triggered and just off forever. You know what I did? I said, okay, I'm going to be cutting down on a bunch of expenses that I had prior to coming here. That's going to help bring their offer closer. And then I said, what if, and came up with some other ideas to make it work. See, I could have just hated, reacted, but I just changed the situation and made it work, which we can do. You can blame those hooks, those people. I know, and I'm sorry that they deceive, they overestimate, they underestimate. I get all that. But you got to ask yourself, if there's a hook in the water, do you have the IQ of a fish? Because a fish will actually bite onto a hook, which is not indigenous to the ocean or whatever, the lake. So why does a fish go, look, something shiny that doesn't really exist in my reality? I've got to go and try to. Well, you don't need to do that. You don't need to bite onto the many hooks of this world. It is possible for you, God, to guide me in all that I think, say, and do. And if something doesn't resonate with love and self-worth, it might not be right for me. I'm not going to quit smoking because studies say, well, the studies all lie anyway. Seriously. They make these things up, and the commercials, and then you got to take something for the something else you took because you had something, and it's just sales. It's BS. But does this resonate with love and self-worth? Use that spiritual compass. The way I'm going to react to you when you say, listen, we're not going to be able to pay you what we thought we were going to pay you at the center. Does it resonate? I could have said, man, you don't realize I'm empowered and I travel the world and I'm respected everywhere and you folks aren't respecting me. I'm out of here. I could have done that. How much would I have gained? You see? I mean, it would have been good because I would have been standing up for my empowered self. But is that all you want to be, is this inflated self? So I had to go further. And I gained by renegotiating the whole image and went, wow, I was about to go into, that's impossible. I need this much that you said. But wait, do I need that much if my debts aren't like this anymore? If my debts come down, maybe I don't need. You see what I'm saying? You get prayerful and you get guidance and it might change the circumstances. Your head will keep trying to find the problems. 8 billion people on the planet, you found that one. At some point, you've got to laugh. I mean, at some point, you got to go, all right. I don't feel very good about this, but I can see where, I was being a bit rash, addictive, compulsive. You see it. Now, does that feel empowering? No, not for a moment. It'll feel for a moment. You feel awkward. You feel defeated. But something starts happening when you own these things more. You're maturing spiritually and psychologically. You are becoming a different person. You see? The person in front of you is a mirror. I'm standing here and I'm a mirror to you and you're a mirror to me. We're all mirrors to each other. We're reflecting what's going on in our soul. So I don't like what I'm seeing on the projector screen or the TV or whatever. You change the DVD, change channels. But if every channel you switch to, called the Relationship Network, and they're all horror movies, you might want to fast from the Relationship Network and get this relationship right so that the others can come together. See, once I do that, I start to recognize I know what healthy relationship is. Now I know when I see it and go, hey, I like this idea. But you also know how to spot, oh, that again. No thanks. And the ego will pop these things up into your life now and again to try to frighten you, trigger you. It'll bring back the ghosts. The ghosts are there, if you've ever done a lot of study with paranormal and ghosts thrive off the fear in the people around them. But that would be an unhealthy ghost. That's not a spirit entity. It's not like there's an angel that goes, let's scare him, to see what happens. Those would not be very kind spirits. So you say no to that situation. But you also need to ask yourself, why are there triggers in me that they can trigger, that they can go after? You clear yourself. So in closing, it's really more about immunity than it is about fixing it all out here. When you develop your immunity, it's amazing that this world, I don't have to fight all these things. I have an immunity that they can't penetrate. And that immunity is love and self-worth. When you know who you really are, it doesn't matter that somebody, I've said to a couple partners in my life over the years, the way I felt about partnership, even if I'm just seeing someone for a while, the way I felt about it is, if at any time you meet somebody that can bring you the things that I will not be able to bring you. I'm on tour all the time at one time. If you find somebody that's like a homebody and they want to be, go. I had no problem with it. I didn't have any, I probably can't live with, I never had that feeling, which is kind of weird. I've had people tell me, please don't say that. Because it sounds like you can just get rid of it. Well, no, I'm saying, I love you so much. I want you to be able to go to someone that can provide a relationship more fully. If I'm on tour all the time or whatever, and I'm working, and that's just not me. So get to a place where you just feel fully contained. Even if your children say, Mom, Dad, you're into that new agey stuff. And they might say, I'm a fundamental Christian. I think you're going to hell. Okay, sorry you feel that way, but that's not a conversation we're going to want to have in my house. If I want to go to hell, I go to your house so you can tell me that I'm going to hell. But right now, I'm not interested. Right now, I'm not interested, and so not in my house. You see? You just draw the line. But if you're really weak, this is going to bother you and scare you and depress you because it feels foreign. There's something very, very powerful about you knowing who you are, because that'll help you determine what is okay and not okay in your life. And when these irritants come along, please sit with it and own for a minute. Oh, you know what? There is something. I do react a little too much. I am irritable. I am abandonment. I get afraid of abandonment. I get it. Own that piece. Pray for guidance in all this situation. You know, work to center in and get a higher power in on this, and breathe and recognize this doesn't determine who I am, but it's a familiar pattern of mine. Look that it's here. Recognize each change, and then please make some incremental movements forward somehow. Give thanks for every bit that shows well. Pieces that don't go well, what did I miss? What could I learn from that? Turn that into a positive. But at the end, change, refill with a new life. Don't just keep the old stuff and see if you can handle it better. You deserve a better life. Anything you would recommend to someone you love is probably worthy of you, right? And in all categories, including the job situation, okay? In all categories. Bliss isn't something external, and it's nothing that we get from anything external, because one of you asked about bliss and joy. It's what happens is when you do your work, you recognize something's off, you do prayer, you make changes and give thanks for them, all the things I named. You go through those steps and you make some changes out here. And then one day you wake up and go, oh my God, I don't know why, but I feel so good. You know why? Because you're living the Christ life. You're doing the steps that I'm describing. You're taking better responsibility. You're changing what you can, accepting what you can't. So bliss on earth has to be earned or attained. Ultimately, it's who you are. But when you fall into earth and said, I'm no longer one with bliss, I'm just a place of terror and horror, my whole being is all torn up inside. Now you have to make these changes and you gradually go, oh, moments of bliss. It's nothing compared to tomorrow's and the next day's bliss. And one day we just go, oh my God, this is hilarious. I went on a journey without distance to a place I never left. I am the bliss I've been looking for. And when you look back and go, and I thought, Jim, I thought that, him and that Harley, that was the most important thing in his life. I thought that that's what I wanted. I wanted that guy with the bike and boom, and just this powerful free road out on the road would bring me bliss. Nothing. Not vegetarianism, not political associations or whatever, not having children, not having children. None of it in this world brings you bliss. Your healthier choices to bring your healthier consciousness is where you start seeing glimpses of bliss. The changes you make in yourself bring you those bites until it becomes the whole enchilada, so to speak. Please center for a few moments of meditation. Breathe away thoughts and tensions of the world. Hear this phrase: nothing I see or think or feel means anything. None of my opinions mean anything. Just be courageous. Go through it. None of my opinions, none of my thoughts, none of my emotions, none of my circumstances mean anything. They only have the meaning that I've given them. There is not one person I've ever met that wasn't symbolizing patterns in me. Someone that was nice to me, someone that was mean to me, they represented old patterns. That means I never ever met anyone and experienced them in the present moment. And sadly, it means I've never given them me in the present moment. Part of my mind wants to fight it, doubt it, deny it. And I can do that, but right now, I'm not going to. What if it's true that I've rarely, if ever, possibly never experienced the present moment? When I met people, employers, partners, whatever else, I was showing them images of what I believed about myself. Unhireable, lack consciousness, undesirable, unattractive, too old, too young, too whatever. And these are all stories that I bought into. I recognize that there have been challenges in my life, throughout my life, Father, Mother, God. I've blamed, I credited, I did all kinds of things with him except the right thing. To own that it's happened. I've got issues, I've had challenges in my life, and I'm calling on you to help me see them truly, see them clearly. Whatever I experienced, it was not what was really happening now. When I hoped they would be interested in getting to know me, it's because I thought that's what I needed. But I have no needs. When I thought I was going to eat food because I wanted something filling, just a simple term. I'm going to eat something filling. Food can't fill me. I don't even have a body. All these strange mind games. Father, Mother, God, I know this is not foreign to you, but it's been foreign to me. I want to be filled only with your presence because that's all that is real, that's all that matters. Behind every drink was a misguided attempt to be filled with God. Behind every drag of a smoke, every sexual encounter, every relationship, every argument, the negatives were simply the people I thought were taking that God away from me, taking valuable things away. Look at all these things I put power into, value into, and they didn't serve me at all. Not even sleep brings me perfect rest. Father, Mother, God, today I'm asking to be baptized, born again, washed clean of former ways of thinking. This doesn't mean I abstain from everything, food, people. It means I'm releasing all the previous opinions I had about it. I don't know what anything is for. I don't know what my health is really about, relationships, work. I don't know anything. Which is not an affirmation of ignorance as it might sound. It's an surrendering. And I now am a vessel that's empty. All that I thought I knew, what kids are for, having them, not having them, what they represented, I don't know anything. I surrender all of my opinions about everything. Hot, cold, wealth, poverty, everything. I'm asking that you help me, beloved God, to hold this empty vessel for a moment. And I ask that it be filled by your presence. I have the right to call on you. I have the power to call on you. You've given me that. So I am calling on and insisting that the presence of the Holy Spirit descend upon me and fill me with a presence of grace and clarity, not defining everything, not labeling everything. I'm no longer a dictionary or an encyclopedia of opinions. I don't know other than the peace of God. I will still encounter things, when to go forward when the traffic light turns green, but I'm not doing it of myself. I'm asking you to guide me, because green might also mean someone was in the parking crosswalk and I needed to watch for them. Green doesn't always mean go. Hi there doesn't always mean twin flame. Guide me. Guide me in all things. Show me how to really feel, how to feel alive, how to feel inspired. The job has no power over me. My car has no power over me. They are reflections of how I'm doing inside, and how I'm doing inside is now to be determined by you, Father, Mother, God, and my willingness to allow it. So fill me as you will. I give thanks in advance for any and all changes that start to show up. Help me to see those so I don't forget to give thanks for them. An ounce of change, let me say yes. One moment of true centeredness, remind me to say yes, so that I can build 2 moments tomorrow, 2 moments in the next hour, and let them grow and grow until they become my consciousness completely. And lastly, I ask that you guide me in any changes external that I need to make. Help me decide which things to say goodbye to, which things to keep, and even the keeps are only for now. To all souls and all beings, all patterns, all addictions, all compulsions, all habits, I see you. I'm sorry for the ill relationship we've had. Please forgive me for thinking that you had power to make or break me. I am loving the hell out of all of you and releasing you all. And I give thanks that I have the power to do so. This is a holy moment, and no person or thing has the power to resist the presence of God that fills me now and takes me into a new life. A couple of centering breaths with a feeling of, and so it is. Centering breaths. Soak that in. Feel that it's true. Feel that the changes are there. They have to be there. God's blessing us with those changes, so they have to be there. Now, how long do we allow that affirmation to be present and not allow the head to start rolling in the opinions again? That's free will. The day is going to come when my will is no longer determined free by when I get to do what I want. Free will, it'll come to pass that people will realize my will is only free when I choose God. You see? It's the only time it's really free. Free will, when it's controlled by the ego, isn't free at all. So I use will, I use willpower, I use my power to choose. That's powerful consciousness there. That's a gift from God. And it can keep taking us in the right direction. But we have to know, are you done enough with this thing that isn't working, and are you ready to choose what does work? It's got to be those two parts. You can't just keep New Year's resolutions without realizing, am I really done with this? Because then all you're doing is wishful thinking. I can't wait, I'm going to do this. Really, really learn to be done with what you're saying goodbye to, and then choose the other. That's the organic way to make this work. Okay? All right, thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for the great requests that you guys all shared. There were several, and we covered most of them, I believe. Got even to the end when we talked about surrender in the meditation. As you're tuning into coming back into the room, can anyone share what they learned or heard that made the most sense to them? What might have made a difference in your life now or in the future? Yes?
I want to say thank you for saying yes when those choices were coming up to be here. I'm so grateful we are all
Thank you.
here together
Thank you.
now, and this is a miracle.
Thank you. Yeah, even the experience of a place where we can share and learn the way we do, it's beautiful. We're going to do our closing prayer. Yes. Yes. Can only be free when you choose God. Yes, because that's the ultimate freedom. Yes.
Recognizing the pattern that's playing out and to surrender that image of yourself.
Recognizing patterns and all the images that they play out and what it brings up in yourself or mirrors to yourself. Yes.
The only part of the journey that's real is the love.
The only part of this journey that's real is the love. Honestly, it's a funny thing. It's the only part that's real, and we get caught up in all these bizarre little dances and things. But only God matters. So choosing God, you're choosing, and it's an interesting thing because some people think, I really want this relationship, but it's unhealthy, so I'm going to choose God. Did you hear the tone of my voice even? That means I'm regretting having to let it go. You see? Well, I guess I have to. You're not there. When you tell me you have to choose God, you have to choose sobriety, you have to choose this or that. If someone came to you and said, I'm looking for a partnership and I have to choose you, I wouldn't recommend it. Do you know what's really beautiful? When someone goes, I get it. I get to choose healthiness now. There's such a different vibe to that. See? I get to. You got to be kidding me. Yes. This is that attitude, that tone even tells you a lot about where a person's at in their healing. And that goes for your own clients and your own family members. Oh, well, I guess you're right. I'll have to, let that person go. You might go, oh, good. But inside you're like, oh, God. Because you can tell they're not getting it yet.
The word inspiration really helped lift the veil for me today, and the balances that godliness right here in front of me. And I just want to say, Michael, I love what you bring to the party of life.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me. Yes?
I like the incremental progress.
Incremental progress.
Of recognizing, this changed and that matters.
Nice. Thank you. It's an interesting thing as the observer up here looking at audiences and groups. And, I think of us as spiritual brothers and sisters, and we're working on this together. And, it's there was a time when I was teaching and people would go, even in my 20s, and people would go, this is not possible for you to know the things you know. It's a funny thing. Their heads want to pin it on. How could this be? And they go, what sign are you? Any sign that isn't the one you're thinking of right now. It's a funny thing though, but you're too young. Now, that's not kind of them to say, right? But they're also mirroring into a young man. Am I worthy? Is this real? Can I really know these things? See? And it's a funny thing. They stopped doing that. Now, when did they stop? When I was 50? Possibly. But I believe they stopped when I no longer had those beliefs. You get what I'm saying? Apply this to your life and mentally go there right now. And there was a time when there were other kinds of challenges. When I came to Sedona, from the beginning, we had large audiences. And they hadn't seen that much here in this town, especially for a regular, somebody that was here consistently. But it was interesting. If I were to say, and this is 15 years ago, if I were to say, like, here's a quick description, you had people that were like, oh my God, this is yes, and God, and wow, and Christ consciousness. There was a lot of that. Then you had people, mostly they were the ones standing against the wall to the side or the back of the room. Kind of like, yeah, I've heard about this. And all the scrutiny and all, you know what I'm saying? They were in such doubtful space. And that's a bummer to be a teacher and have people throwing barbs at you, like, arrows at you like that. You can't know. It was one time with my age. Now it's, who's this guy think he is coming to Sedona and getting a large audience? And they were angry, some of them. They were teachers. And they were like, nobody's coming to my classes because of this guy. And I'm being sensitive going, I'm hurting because of all this, but I had to also You do what you do, man. If you teach from the right place, you'll have an audience. I can't help you. If you want me to counsel and work with you, great. And there's a couple that did some naughty things in this town. They got run out of town. And I counseled them as well without naming names and told them, listen, it's not, don't take it too personally. Sedona does bake people. It intensifies the heat. And I had to stand here and take a lot of that and just keep doing the love spiritual work. And you in your lives, if you move here, it applies to you too. This place will turn up the heat. It'll brighten really bright to shine away all stuff. It'll bake away all residual stuff. If you don't want it baked away, if that's an inconvenience or an annoyance, you're probably not going to dig it when it's happening. I didn't dig it, but I still knew this is what I'm needing to do. So you just endure. So you guys, endure, whether it's relationship. Oh, I came to Sedona and things intensive. Well, that's right. It bakes away. Don't take it personally and don't be shocked. Hear this warning. It needs to be on all the brochures. All the Red Rock pictures and, they should just say, welcome to hell. Because this place is going to cook you. And if you can endure it, that's what the Greek gods did. If they could endure a visit to hell, they became gods, the humans, the mortals, the heroes. So you're on your own hero's journey. And if you can endure, there's good things waiting. So I'm going to share a couple quick announcements and we're doing our closing prayer. But this week and next week is the final week for the DVD sets that are in the foyer on the table there. The DVD sets have 4 different talks in each title, but they're great video DVDs, but on different topics: spirituality, healing, whatever it happens to be. If you do one of them, they're half price at $10. You do a few more than that, they go down to half of that. And if you do just a full set, you get them for a couple dollars a piece, which is almost nothing. And then they're gone. Once they're sold out, we're going to be done with those. Let's see. In the bookstore, there's a bunch of new statuary. So check that out because they just got heaps, and they're always selling out of it because you guys get it, but they just got a shipment yesterday. All kinds of really beautiful wall plaques and statues. Daughters of Heaven Conference, the early bird discount's going to expire soon. So the Daughters of Heaven, if you don't know what it is, please go to the website, daughtersofheaven.com. There's also a book in the bookstore that I've written about the topic, the Daughters of Heaven, what they are, what that's about. It's kind of like light workers taken to the next level. High level of people that feel not just interest in spirituality, but devotion to awakening to God. A much more connectedness with Christ, with Mary, with a much deeper devotional energy than just general spirituality. That's quickly said. That's something about Daughters of Heaven. This afternoon from 1 to 4, we have some of the best psychics in the region that we bring in once a month for the monthly Sedona Psychic Fair. It's featuring the animal communicators, shamanic energy healers, path intuitive clearers. We have palm portal healers, intuitive readers, tarot readers, Reiki masters, all kinds. And it's great if you guys could schedule ahead of time. Like if you're going to lunch, book it now because they do book up pretty full almost every time we have the fair. And you can also, if you're online, you can call and they'll put you in touch with any of these folks so that you can do sessions privately with them via phone or Zoom or whatever. You can join me for the annual Mastery and Healing Intensive. I have forgotten to announce this, but this is next Sunday, it looks like. Next Saturday and Sunday. So it's the Mastery and Healing Workshop. I do it once a year, done it for 30 plus years. Very, very powerful. And you can learn more about that online as well. You can do it in person or online. I know there's some people flying in or traveling in for the workshop, so we have people in person, but also online. The Kualama Foundation will be hosting the Mamos and Zagas spiritual elders from Columbia's Sierra Nevada on Wednesday, May 28th. So mark your calendars. The Mamos Guardians of Harmony and Zagas Keepers of Feminine Wisdom will share teaching, ceremonies, and guidance to deepen your connection to nature and to find balance. And remember that we have a healing room out here. It's the yurt and has a healing crystal bed in there. It's very, very multidimensional, supernatural healing from that. So if you're interested, you can schedule those. There'll be someone in the foyer. You can sign up there, or you can do that anytime during the week. Just call and book it. Thank you for watching. If you're watching online, we appreciate you being here. Yes, ma'am.
We still have ribbons in the lobby for prayers.
Well, we have officially finished and opened up our little prayer garden right here, the Divine Mother Garden. You can write a prayer on these ribbons and tie it in a knot, okay? But you can tie it to the arch. You'll see the other ribbons out there. You can sit and just do a little devotional prayer for whatever's on your mind, okay? Please believe in prayer. If you missed we did that one, Spiritual Healing, Counseling, and Mentoring Circle this Wednesday, if you're interested. Every other Wednesday, we have a circle that meets in here, and it's kind of a healing, spiritual guidance. I lead that one, and it's kind of like a support group, but also you're learning techniques for yourself or others on how to bring greater healing, more dramatic movements in healing categories of our life, areas of our life that are obviously a pattern or concern. Okay? Let's take up our collection. Take your love offering. Please, guys, be as generous as you can be. We greatly appreciate it. We use all the donations wisely, and the people online, there's a button you can push to donate there as well. Heartfelt. Your donations go in the bags. If you put it in the baskets, that's for any extra donations we use for people of lesser means or sometimes for special projects, okay? Holding this energy, this intention, this blessing. Together, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you so much. While they're passing those around, any last comments or questions about what we covered today?
Oh, I do.
Yes, ma'am.
They used to say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, but now it's
Yeah.
Sedona.
Yeah, if you can make it in Sedona, you can make it anywhere. Yeah, it's a very amazing energy here. They say, it magnifies because it's a very crystal-like space, and it magnifies because that's what crystals do. So people go, "Oh, I can't wait to wait. Are you not listening? If you have abandonment, you have abandonment squared. I mean, financial issues or whatever. Now, that doesn't mean it all goes just poorly. The native indigenous people in this region said, don't go to Sedona. When it wasn't called Sedona at the time. But they were like, don't go there. That's only to go for Vision Quest. You don't live there. It's too intense. And, people show up, oh, we ought to live here. So please understand, it's nothing personal, but it's intense. However, if you can walk through, it's amazing because it becomes integrated. You become integrated. You're now all that healing that you did. It doesn't kick you, around the way it might have felt. It's now all of a sudden it's built your spiritual muscles. All right? So it's fantastic. But if you ever think to move here, make sure you have a lot of money. Because if you don't, that becomes another issue and trigger to try to, get by, because the jobs, they pay only a few dollars an hour, and they're all taken by people that are living with 5 other people in a one-room apartment. That's exaggerated, but it's pretty intense for some people. All right? All right, any others? Please stand for a closing prayer. Thank you so much, guys, for your time and patience. Appreciate you devoting to a Sunday like this, Sunday morning, to get into a really good space. I pray that the things we covered are being integrated. I believe that we can do this, but I pray that you keep that open mind and absorb this. Don't just hear it and walk out and forget it. Really take these things and integrate them. This is who I'm becoming. Every time we do these talks, it's just my mind is constantly higher and higher and higher. I teach much the same thing I taught 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 8 lifetimes ago, for the most part. But it's just beautiful to just become and become and become. So just let yourself absorb these things. When we say these things, we are affirming their truth, that the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is.